Every year around New Year's, I do a bunch of activities to reset my life and create a clean slate, create a fresh start. And I film myself doing it all so that you can get inspired if you're doing your own New Year's reset. This video is all about creating your 2026 map. I want to go through step by step how to figure out what you want for 2026, how to pick your goals, and how to make sure that you're actually picking the right goals. One of the reasons that people struggle so much with setting and achieving goals isn't because they're not capable of achieving their goals, it's because they're picking the wrong goals. Which is why I created a goal setting framework to stop people from doing that. No more bad goals. Say it with me. This is going to be a longer video. It comes with a mini workbook that you can download in the link below. This workbook has bits and pieces that I picked from my products, the Life Map, Plan Your Best Year Ever. And if you have those, you might still want to listen to this so that you can sort of get inspired again. If you're in the Intention membership, there's also an extended version of this video. There's an extended version of the workbook for you there. And if you're not in the Intention membership, what's going on? I'll have the link down below. Like any good end of year reset process, we're going to start by reflecting on the past year. We're tying a bow on the past year. And we're starting that by writing down our wins, by writing down the things that we've made happen. When I say that, you might be thinking, I don't know if I've really had that many wins. This hasn't been a banger of a year. I promise you, as soon as you start writing, wins will start to tumble out of you. Little wins and big wins. I would start with the little ones though. So a little one could even be, this year, I only put 1 sugar in my cup of coffee of a morning. Nothing is too small to write down. After you've finished doing this, you're immediately going to feel good. That's the way it works. I'm going to share some of my answers as well to give you some inspiration if you're struggling. This year, my partner and I really made a pact with each other to not touch Uber Eats, and we followed through. I got a lot craftier this year. I was in nature more this year than I ever have been. I moved the Intention app over to a web-based membership, a huge feat. I made a formal decision to move my podcast over to audio only. And I got out of a really weird slump. I had a really weird start to the year. I made a video all about getting out of that slump. I'll have it linked down below. Pause this video now, get out your workbook, write down your wins. The next thing to reflect on is what you are making peace on to move forward. These are the things that didn't go as well throughout your year. Maybe you tried something and it didn't work. It is what it is and we're moving forward. This is kind of just you accepting and letting go of anything that didn't go your way this year. This is not an opportunity for you to be mean to yourself or to be unkind to yourself. If you're feeling really emotional or down on yourself, I actually would skip this entirely. Come back to it when you're feeling neutral, relatively unemotional, a bit more objective. This is about making peace with your past, not abusing yourself for your past. And I'll go first because everyone has failures within their year. You're not alone. My YouTube channel has had a slump of a year. Look at those views. Down. I've been in my flop era. We're moving out of it, maybe. Or we're making way for new things to happen. At the start of the year, I was like, I'm gonna switch up the style of content that I do on YouTube. And then I didn't do that. I put a lot of energy and attention towards my podcast on the side, and I ended up scattering my attention in so many different places that I feel as if I didn't make very much progress. I've already made a few changes so that in the new year, that doesn't happen. Now, you can't leave me alone here. You go. Pause now to write down any of your failures, any of the things that just didn't go your way this year, in a way that's just objective, accepting, we're moving along. In the workbook, you'll also find a bunch of other little prompts to get you thinking. So if you're feeling uninspired, look at those extra prompts. Now you want to write down the insights and the lessons that you learned from this year, that you took away from everything you experienced in the year. Imagine there's someone outside of you who has unconditional love and acceptance for you as a person. They've seen you live through this whole year. What insights, what lessons do you think that they'd most want you to embrace in 2026? A lesson for me is that if you scatter your attention, you scatter your results. A lesson that I've relearned at least 1,000 times is that you'll always feel better when you have some casual connection and when you get out of your head and you get into nature. Pause now and write down any of the insights that you want to take into 2026. Now we're going to be picking your goals for the next year. A lot of the goal setting stuff that I've consumed talks about breaking your goal down into steps, creating SMART goals. And there's a time and a place for that stuff. It can be helpful. And there is nowhere near enough talk about how to set good goals, how to set goals that you're more likely to follow through on, how to set the right kind of goals so that at the end of the year, you look back and you're like, I did it. I ticked them off. So many people are out here setting bad goals and then they don't achieve them. And then they blame themselves and they go, oh, there's something wrong with me because I didn't achieve that goal. When a lot of the time it's a problem with the goals that you set. We're out here setting bad goals and I want no more of it. Which is why we're starting our goal setting process by purging. We're purging the shoulds, the musts, the it'd probably make sense to. Any goals that feel like a next logical step. So you want to think through every single area of your life, look at the life wheel that's on the screen, and you want to purge out any of the shoulds before you start even thinking about setting goals. Now let's get dreaming. So I want you to imagine you're looking at a TV screen, and on this TV screen, you're seeing yourself in 12 months' time. So 12 months to the day. You're just getting little almost snippets of your future. What is the snippet that you're most hoping to see? What's the snippet that you're sitting there and waiting to come up because you so want it to be there? We're going to go through a few questions like this that are kind of just questions to get you inspired and to get you dreaming, rather than you just sitting there and writing down a bunch of random goals that you're pulling out of nowhere. As you answer this question, maybe the snippet you really want to see is you holding the book that you've written. Maybe it's you with a really thriving community. Maybe it's you buying really luxe gifts for your family members because you got that promotion. Write it all down. Then let's talk about the next question. Something I maybe have mentioned too much, and I'm gonna mention it again, is Daniel Kahneman's approach to goal setting and change. He talks about how the wrong way to approach change is, how do I make it happen? And the right way to approach change is, why am I not doing this already? So what are the blocks, the things that are most in my way that are stopping me from living this life that I say that I want to live? That's where this next question comes in. So what's the obstacle that's most blocking you from making that snippet that you so want to see happen? Pause now to write your answer to this question. Imagine you're someone who believes with your whole heart that you deserve a joyous, fun-filled, interesting, lucky year. What might you let yourself want if you believed that? Even the last part of that question, what might you let yourself want if you just gave yourself permission to want anything? Try just considering that and see what comes up. By this point, maybe a bunch of interesting, exciting goals have come out. Maybe they haven't. Maybe so much has come out that you're almost feeling overwhelmed and you're like, well, okay, how am I supposed to pick my goals? Keep in mind, this really shouldn't be a one and done process. You shouldn't pick your goals for the next 12 months in an afternoon. Instead, you kind of want to sit with this for a week or so, let these questions linger, see what more comes up. Sometimes the first thing that comes to mind isn't the best thing. Obviously, keep in mind your personality type. So if you're a more impulsive person that kind of just feels a sense of, oh, like I need to start, I need to do, let your goals sit. If you're someone who could overthink this for the rest of your life, maybe don't give yourself that much time to sit with it. But for most people, instead of deciding on your goals straight away, you want to date a goal. So go for a little hour, spend some time with the goal, see how it feels. Does it light you up in the way that you thought it would, or does it feel like it's dragging you down? Do that with a few different goals. See what feels really good for you and what doesn't. There is no need to rush into goal setting. Now, imagine you've been fired from your life. So I have seen you for the last year and I've said, actually, you're out. I'm going to take your higher self over here because your higher self has unconditional love for you. They want what's best for you, and I'm going to put them in. I'm going to instruct them to set some goals that are totally focused on making your life 100 times more joyful, 100 times easier, 100 times more interesting. Maybe pick whatever it is that you're particularly craving and fill in that blank. What goals are they going to set? Pause now and write down anything that comes out. Lastly, ask yourself, if I had no fear of judgment or failure, I'd fill in the blank. Even with this question, imagine no one will ever know that you achieve the goals that you set this year. Not a single soul is going to be aware that you set this goal. So not only will there be no judgment, there'll also be no applause. What kind of goals are you setting? Are they different from the kind of goals that you would set if, for example, your entire family is aware, all of your friend group is aware, so on and so forth? You finished with the dreaming phase, and this is the phase that I think not enough people spend time on. They take the first goal that comes to their mind and they go, that's what I'm going to work on, rather than letting it simmer. Now let's help you to decide on your goals. This is the hard part for some people and the easy part for other people, just depending on your strengths and weaknesses. Here's the thing, that the only good goals are the goals that part of you almost aches to start and complete. As much as I love this bird being here, we're moving her. She's too center stage, and I didn't realize until I reviewed a bit of this footage. Obviously, sometimes there are goals that you're obligated to set. If you're in your last year of university, your goal might need to be finish university. If you've just had a newborn, your goal might have to be to stay alive. Outside of that though, your goal needs to be something that makes you feel expanded. And I actually mean that in kind of a literal sense. When you think about the goals that you want to achieve, you want to feel lighter. You want a part of you to feel pulled towards that goal. Unless it's like a mandated exercise routine from your doctor that you have to set as a goal, in which case that needs to be approached differently. But for the most part, your goals should make you feel expanded. I've got a bunch of questions in the workbook that are directly from the life map, my little goal setting ebook. And I know how easy it would be to not take any of those questions seriously. And I implore you to take them seriously. It is so much easier to achieve goals that are actually aligned with you, that make you feel expanded, that make you feel excited, than it is to achieve bad goals. Once again, I refuse to let you set a bad goal. It's just not happening. Not on my watch. So with all of those beautiful brainstorming questions that I shared earlier, you'll end up with a bunch of things that you might want to do in the next year. A heap of potential pathways, if you will. Go through and list those out in your workbook, and then you're going to get rating. You're going to ask yourself, how much would I enjoy working on this goal? So really, you want to envision yourself working towards this goal. Does that feel fun to you? Or are you really just after the end product? How attainable does this feel to you? So the kind of perfect level of attainability is a little bit challenging, but it doesn't feel impossible. So you want it to challenge you enough that you're interested, that you want to keep going, but you don't want it to challenge you so much that by the end of the year, you feel drained and de-energized. And maybe you haven't actually achieved the thing that you wanted to achieve. A question that I have in there is this a willing to or a want to? So a willing to is, I'll do it. You know, someone asks you for a favor and you're like, okay, yeah, like I'll help you. A want to is, like, I can't wait. And lastly, how much will this goal impact your life? So is this goal going to have a huge 10 out of 10 massive impact, or is it going to be kind of like a little drop, a little nudge? Go through, write out all of the goals that you're the most drawn towards and rate them using these scales. Once you finish that, you probably have a sense of, okay, I think that my main goals that I'm going to set for the year will be this one, and that one. So before you write down what you think will be the 3 goals that you want to work on for the next 12 months, do the circumstance test. Imagine that the circumstances of your life are completely different. So you don't have the same friends, you don't have the same family, maybe you don't have the same job or surroundings. Do you still feel pulled towards this goal? In my video on how to figure out what you want for 2026, which I really would recommend listening to if you've liked this, it goes right alongside it. I talk about how we're all out here lying to ourselves about what we want, and the circumstance test is a really good way to test that. The goals where you are lying to yourself and telling yourself, I want this, but actually a part of you doesn't want it, are the worst kind of goals to set and the ones that you're most likely to not follow through on. The goals where you are telling yourself the absolute truth, you're being deeply honest with yourself about what you want, the goals you're most likely to actually achieve. The second test to run your goals through is the button test. Imagine there's a big disco ball themed button in front of you. If you push this button, immediately you'll have what you say you want. Do you press the button? If there's part of you that leans towards, no, I'm not going to push that button because you want the gratification of learning, of putting in the work, that's totally fine. But outside of that, you should feel a resounding, yes, I want to push that button. If you find yourself feeling this sense of, I don't think I would want to push that button, you might want to ask yourself questions like, okay, how do I feel like this goal is going to hurt me or make my life worse? What am I scared is going to happen if I achieve this goal? And even what compromises, what changes could I make to this goal to get to a full body, yes, I want to press the button. Now you're writing down your 3 goals for the year. Because if you have more than 3 priorities, you probably don't really have any priorities. Once again, if you're in the Intention membership, there's an extended version of this video, so please go and watch the rest of that. You'll also have an extended version of the workbook to do. If you liked this video and you liked sort of my approach to goals and you haven't got the life map, 100% you would love it. I'll put a 20% off discount below for all of my products for the next week. No pressure to buy any of them, obviously. They're great products, but they're also nice to haves, not have to haves. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have the best 2026. And I'm so glad that you've taken some time to sit down and choose some good intentional goals.